Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar Why Community Matters. This is the second webinar that NEPC is organizing in cooperation with its members to present the activities that our members did to support the education system during the pandemic, during the first wave of pandemic. The activities that will be presented today are also part of our first emergency fund. So in the first wave of pandemic, Network of Education Policy Centers supported their members with the so-called emergency fund to help them to help with the education systems in their countries. A few weeks ago, another emergency fund started with the support of Open Society Foundations. And we are very happy that we managed to support 12 initiatives among our members. Today, we are very happy to host Rozeta Hoxhallari, the Director of Children Are the Future from Albania, and Nedim Krajišnik, the Deputy Director of Center of Education Initiative Step by Step from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Hi, Nedim and Rozeta. Thank you for joining us and welcome. Today, they will present the activities that they did during the pandemic, and we are very happy that we managed to put these two organizations together because they have a lot in common. They are excellent training provider for professional development for educational staff, but they also try very hard and they are very committed to empower the educational staff in their countries to analyze, identify issues of educational systems and to create solutions with participatory mode. So we are very happy to have you with us today. The presentations part of our webinar will last half an hour, and then we will open for discussions, comments, and questions. You have on the right corner on the top a little icon with a chat, and you can send your questions, comments there. Now let's start from the title of this webinar, Why Community Matters. And let's start with Rozeta. So, Rozeta, why community matters? Why community are so important in time, are so important and so even more relevant in time of crisis? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Raffaella. I'm so happy to be part of this webinar, and I'd like to thank NEPC for the great support provided to CAF so that we could provide the schools and communities we've been working for many years together. Why community matters? Actually, for decades and centuries, it was believed, deeply believed, that school, family, and community are three separate spheres that have got their own goals, objectives, roles, and responsibilities. Therefore, they shouldn't interfere into each other's works because they would jeopardize their work. But with the passing of years, so many problems and challenges were faced by the school community, especially teachers and school leaders, that they realized that it was impossible for them to address successfully them on their own. Because Americans say we share the same child. So the school, the family, and community have got the same child. And of course, they've got aspirations for the well-being and success of the child. Therefore, they should work together in order to help each and every child succeed in school and later in life. With the passing, during the last 30 or 40 years, not only schools, but also other stakeholders have realized that parent involvement and collaboration with the community is vital to the success of education. As an organization, we have believed this deeply, and this is why we've been working on strengthening parent involvement and cooperation, collaboration, partnership between school, family, and community for many years. And we have also realized that parents now are better aware of their role. Teachers know that they can't do their job without parent support. And on the other hand, they've realized that there are so many resources in the community out there that can be provided as a support to the school community. So this is why we say community matters. We also realized this during the crisis that the school really needed parents. The school really needed other stakeholders in the community. I will talk later on a little bit more about how they supported each other to strengthen the idea that, yes, community matters. It's really important. I've written somewhere family-like schools and school-like families, because those who believe the theory of overlapping spheres, which is school, family, and community, have got a joint space where it's the children that they share, the aspirations for their future well-being and success in education. So those who believe this theory, who believe in this theory, they make schools that feel like family, where teachers worry and care about the child, not only the success in education or academic achievement, but also about their aspirations, about their worries, about their concerns and family background. And the same happens in the family. The family pays a great attention to schoolwork. So this is how they come to work with each other to support the child.
Thank you, Rozeta, for your inputs. It's very clear from this picture that this success story in education system happen in the intersections of the things. Nedim, do you have any inputs on that, considering your work with the community of teachers in Bosnia?
Thank you very much once more, Raffaella, and thank you, Rozeta, for this wonderful introduction. I don't have many things to add, except the communities and professional communities were always there in education. They work or they don't work depending on culture and the climate in the school and how it's developed. But during this sad momentum, which is called pandemic, 2019, we somehow realized that at least here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we had this nurturing and flourishing of professional communities so all over the round. But it was not something that was created from kind of need or authentically created. It started to work once when the system finally showed that they don't have a proper answer to the needs of teachers. So the communities, professional communities, were consequences of the bad system, and somehow I'm happy that teachers finally articulated and showed that their professional community, their role in educational system is much bigger than the system expect and the general public think. Why community matters in our opinion, or what we have learned why community matters, and especially in this time of crisis, but I don't want to connect it with only pandemic. I want to connect it what was before and what will come after the pandemic. Some key words are there when we're talking about why community matters. One of them is a trust, and I believe that our community of innovative teachers, which consists out of 8,000 people just from Bosnia and Herzegovina, that is the key reason why they are there, because they trust that we will do whatever we can do in order to help them in that certain moment. So another thing that follows this one is that we do not leave people behind. So for us, every teacher is important, and when we do not have a capacities to answer on all of their needs, there are other teachers who are willing to be critical friends, who are willing to be supporters, and who are willing to be to take bigger role in the community. That matters. What is the difference between between communities and maybe the system, which is really important, is that communities and they showed us that during the pandemic, is that they are flexible, adaptive, and responsive. So they don't have to wait. They don't have to wait the long time of system knowing what to do or what to offer to the teachers. They know what they need, and especially in the moment when they transfer to school online, or when they had combined models, the community always had an answer, and that was the reason why people were coming back to the community. Variety of expertise is there. Around 8,000 people, a lot of people know different things, and whenever you're in need for a certain topic, for a certain team, there is always someone from the community who is willing to give not just an answer, to give a plastic tool how to do it, to give the example from the classroom of how they did it, and so on and so on. It is genuine in an authentic relationship, and we believe that in community that matters. Those relationships are built around what Rozeta said about the child. Because in the meantime, the whole focus went to on technical details, how schools should work and would work. And in the meantime, we forgot the essence of education, and that is the quality and outcome of it. And what was the difference between our communities and the system that was pretty silent and quiet for a while is that we offered the answer that they need. We offered the platform where they can meet each other, and we were just not working on how schools should work and giving them materials for the schools. We were working on that to build relationship among themselves. And now they see, and the system see, that communities are something that is, I will dare to say, the future of education in total. This autonomy that teachers finally got through the pandemic is something that they will fight heavily to keep it in their hands, because with the autonomy comes great responsibility, and they showed that they are responsible, that they have a quality answer on the ongoing issues, and that they are striving in connecting to each other in order to get better and better answers. And in our opinion, that is why community matters, but not all community matters. We should also say that only those communities who are built around certain value, in this case this is equality and a child, are something that has a good ground for further development of it. And thank you for giving me the time to talk about this.
Thank you very much, Nedim, for this very passionate intervention and for reminding us what does matter and what actually does not. Let's come back then to the pandemic, so the first wave of pandemic. Both of you are very data-driven organization. So before you start to do something, you try to collect what is happening on the spot to see how to better create, to better provide better solution. So Rozeta, what your situation analysis that you did in Albania in time of pandemic showed you? You need to share your presentation again now.
Okay.
Now you're presented again. Okay.
Well, first, we thought we will not spend a lot of time on doing research, real research and so on, but we really felt the need to create a better understanding of the fears, worries, concerns and challenges that our dear teachers, parents, students, school leaders and all other stakeholders were facing at that period of time. Through our communication with them, we felt that they were really worried. They were scared, some of them. Some of them really didn't know what to do. Some felt isolated. So we thought, well, we need to do something together so that we feel that we build that feeling of supportive communities. We are here, we can help and support each other. So it was a matter of solidarity with each other. So in our let's say context analysis or situation analysis, actually we started it as something very small, but it ended up involving 1,355 students in the online questionnaires. We had 172 teachers, 183 parents, but there were also 120 teachers, parents, and students who were involved in focus group discussions and also free discussions. Okay, so I need to send a slide to it. Sorry, just a moment to send it to the... Okay, so it's here. In the regions, we had schools and communities from 7 districts. Again, we can't say that it's a research at national level because the main goal or objective was to understand the situation and also provide guiding and support to the schools we worked with, and also guide our work so that it could be based on the needs of teachers, students, and parents. what we realized was that the main challenges faced by almost all the stakeholders were related to the situation, to the new approach, new teaching and learning approach, lack of knowledge and also experience in this new approach. In many cases, lack of technological devices by a number of students, and even some teachers, because they could have a smartphone but not a laptop or desktop, so that they could prepare a better lesson hour. And lack of internet connection. Smartphone was the main tool that was used by teachers, parents, and students. So it was stated by 82% of students, 88% of teachers, and 90% of parents. WhatsApp was the main online platform, so I've got the percentages here. But what was important is that 45% of teachers stated they used only WhatsApp. So someone who deals with teaching and loves teaching and so on understands that it's impossible to organize an interactive teaching hour with all the students through WhatsApp. So we could see that there were so many challenges that not only the teacher, but also parents and students faced. So we also realized that there was a group of students who did not have the chance to participate in the lesson hour, in the teaching and learning process, due to all the challenges that or problems that I mentioned before. So some of the main difficulties faced by students, so it was understanding the lesson. So having the lesson hour through WhatsApp, mostly, it was difficult. The overload, not having a set schedule, some of them not having the appropriate technological devices, and also in the families that they did have a smartphone, for example, it was only one. There were 3 or 4 children in the same family, so it was really difficult to manage the time and also use it appropriately. Main difficulties faced by teachers, again related to the new approach, lack of experience and knowledge on using effective online platforms and also effective interactive teaching methods, which make possible participation and active involvement of all the kids in the classroom, where they feel motivated, they help and support each other, they're cooperative, which was really needed at this period of time. Whereas main difficulties faced by parents, I mentioned it a little bit. So they faced that they were overwhelmed. They needed to become teachers as well. So they needed to support their kids because it was impossible for the kid, him or herself, to do all the schoolwork, besides needing the technological device. Some of them did not have proper physical conditions and internet connection that I already mentioned. So here I've got some percentages of student participation. So we can realize that there is a percentage of students who did not have the chance to participate during the teaching and learning process. And we realized that most of these kids came from the most vulnerable groups, low socioeconomic status families, those who belonged to Roma and community, to Roma and Egyptian community, those who lived in very remote rural areas where there was no connection with internet. And of course, some of them did not have the technological devices needed. Also, special needs children who really need some specific type of support besides the conditions that I mentioned before. So it was interesting that all the stakeholders who were involved in this context analysis, they stated the need, the high need for supporting this group, this vulnerable group of students and families. We also realized together the need for training on online platforms. This was stated and reported by the teachers who participated in it. So 50% of them said, we do need support in this training on how to effectively use online platforms. This, of course, combined with effective teaching methods. The need for supporting and increasing the capacity of school leaders. So we had school leaders who had never been in such a situation of crisis. So they needed to have a clear vision of the whole learning community that they want to build, especially in such cases. So how they could support effectively the teachers, how they could motivate all teachers. And on the other hand, how could support teachers so that they could find the right way of communication and cooperation with the parents, community, and students as well. So all missed, it was clear that all of them missed teaching and learning in classroom and school environments, so they were looking forward toward going back to school. Okay, so that lesson learned. So these were the main findings. Of course, it's very long. We do have lots of findings, but I thought this was important to share with you because for us, it's a reflecting period of time when you realize that community matters, like the professional community where teachers need to support each other. So it's not needed just training, but also continuous mentoring and support. Teachers need to have consultation meetings with each other, share and exchange positive practices so that they can help each other. And school leaders, on the other hand, need to exchange experiences and positive practices with other school leaders. Parents, we realize that they missed communication with other parents and also direct contact and communication with teachers. So this is how we realize that there is a high need for capacity building support towards teachers and school leaders, but on the other hand, also parents and students. Because we've got parents who use WhatsApp, who use internet most of the time, but not towards supporting the child, like effectively using it. So this is why we came out with the activities that I'll mention later on with the Parents Network and parent councils and teachers through our workshops. And
Thank you, Rozeta. It was very interesting to see how at the end everybody needs to share and to communicate. This is always a kind of a lesson at the end of in time of crisis. And also it's very interesting to analyze the role of parents in this pandemic, that it was suddenly becoming teachers.
And probably, on the second, we also realized that teachers during this kind of cooperation during the crisis, the online teaching and learning, they realized much more how important parents are, and they appreciated their commitment and support. And on the other hand, because we also had the chance to talk to them in person, parents felt that teachers tried hard. So it was probably the first time when they really realized how much teachers work and how much they need each other, how much they need each other's support. So this was really wonderful.
Maybe one of the rare occasions in which they see each other in time of need. Okay, Step by Step from Bosnia and Herzegovina did also research in cooperation with Prominemente social research. Are the results much different from the Albanian context? Similar, in which terms they're similar or different, Nedim?
Thank you very much, Raffaella. That is the good question. Why good question? Because I read a lot of reports from all over the world doing research about online teaching during teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is not much difference, and that is something that makes me happy and makes me sad in the same moment. Why? Because we always believe that our educational system in Bosnia and Herzegovina is pretty disaster, and when we see that some issues are there in other parts of the world, then we are happy that we are not alone in this bad education. But bad education is all over the world. So I just want to check, do you hear me? Because now I cannot see you.
Yes.
can hear you
Yes.
very
Oh,
well.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, the results are not much different. But why we did? Because you mentioned on the same beginning the importance of or that our organization is doing a lot of data research and research about education. We believe that serious moves and serious actions in education cannot be made without serious data. We do it because we believe that, okay, first of all, system do not do it, so we need someone who will do it for them, and that is the reason why our community of innovative teachers is doing this. We wanted to show to the system that there are ongoing problems, even though they are publicly presenting that everything is perfect, everything is going on, no child left behind, and so on and so on. And then we later on find out that almost 40% of children in Bosnia and Herzegovina didn't have any connection with the online teaching during the pandemic. That teachers are not happy, children are not happy, and parents are especially not happy. The dominant focus of all discussion in the public was technicality of how schools should look like or how online schools should look like, and no one was taking care about the essence of education, and that is the question why we are doing this, why we are going to school, and why the school is needed. So we wanted to give a focus back on the quality. We wanted to give a focus back on the teaching process and so on that we find important. And we did this survey and research among almost 40% of all teachers in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we had around 12,000 parents and children, because we believe that their perspective is really important and that is something genuine that we will get from the field and somehow transfer the information to the system. What would be interesting maybe for you, not going into details, is that we made around 5 major topics. Our conclusions and recommendations went in the 5 areas, which are access and non-discrimination, which we found out that yeah, almost 40% of children didn't have any way to participate in an online school. And I will share some more data with you. And also what Rozeta mentioned, no one was thinking about teachers and can they do it technically. And 58 of respondents said that they have their own computer, and others than that they use different media and different tools from other family members and so on and so on. I don't want to go into details, but this is clearly showing that first of all, our education system do not know how children live, and we didn't have any way to contact them or be part of their lives during this pandemic. And our recommendation goes in that direction, that schools have to have a mechanism which will follow the socioeconomic status of children and their capability of being part of educational process. Equipment is something that is an ongoing issue, and we were focusing on this both to teachers, both to parents and children, and something that was important for all of us, and that is the security and safety, online security and online safety, which we don't talk much about it because other things are something that is at this point more important, but we believe that it is also important to going back on that. Second area that we did research about was models of online teaching, and because of huge diversity of how schools look like in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we had a huge diversity of how models of online teaching went on. Usual problems is that this digitalization of education is in a prenatal process, and we cannot talk about serious education because we don't have a serious equipment, and especially we don't have a serious philosophy of how we're going to use technology in education. None of them were happy of online teaching, and that was a clear sign to us that we have to do something about it. The next area that we were talking about is teachers and cooperation with families, and what was the most beautiful thing for us is that both teacher and parents and kids were actually caring only about the relationship among each other. So no matter which communication tool, no matter which platform they use, no matter any other thing of except the thing, do children feel that teachers are there for them? And when we look at that, we found what is also essence in education, and that is the relations, and many theories talks about it. But also it was important about relation between teachers and the school management and teachers and the system. So that is something same as they had with the children, but in this case they didn't have any support, neither from management or neither from system, and that is something that cannot repeat anymore in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we will strongly advocate for that. Teaching process, teachers were not happy. That was interesting. Teachers gave much less grade that is not adequate to correspond with the parents and children grade, because parents and children were more happy with the online school than the teachers were. So, but I think that is also the period when we asked the people, because this research was ongoing for almost 4 months, and this is something that we found out about the teaching process, and that there is a huge need for adjustment of curriculum. There is a huge need for training of students for usage of ICT, methodical training for teachers, training of the use of ICT for the teachers, and some advantages that we don't want to romanticize because we don't want to push from the core topic is that this was the opportunity for everyone to learn new ICT tools, having a bunch of resources for sharing, creativity, opportunity to learn from each other and so on. But we are not romanticizing this process because it was tough and we had a lot of difficulties, and especially we cannot give a final thought on this because the system forbidden to follow the outcomes of the education, because they know that they will get results which are disaster, and that they just don't want to forget this year. But the problem is that we now again just yesterday started the online school without them taking into consideration any of other recommendations that we gave to them. Mental and physical health care was something that was important for parents, and they were worried about the health. They were worried about their families much more than they worried about how the school looked like in this moment. What we did about it is actually what I said on the same beginning. When it comes to communities, the communities are there when needed. We didn't have a time to wait, so we materialized all the resources of this huge community, and we were there 24/7 for 8,000 teachers from our community. We developed resources for teachers and school management, several publications, hundreds of strategies and ideas. We were talking about values in the times of crisis and so on. We conducted at least 28 webinars with 28 different trainers. We did support for the children through the weekly magazine. The thousands of children from Bosnia were editing this magazine, and this was something that they were really happy about it. We had a weekly challenge for schools, students, and teachers and parents also. We developed manuals for parents, what they're going to do at home, how they're going to support the children at home, and so on. Teachers for teachers is something that was going on. Teachers were developing ideas for the themes, ideas for the subjects, and more than 200 practices which are developed. Those are not just tiny practices; those are huge practices that were published online. We did more than 50 hours of talks on education with many people, ministries, experts in education, teachers, and so on. We want to hear every possible side, and this was something that we did on a daily basis. We did not just this research; we did 2 huge researches which we sent to the ministries of education all over the Bosnia and Herzegovina to create the decisions based on serious data, and many more. That is something that at this point, and maybe to finish up, then can Rozeta take it over. What we are going to do next, we are not happy with this. The system is answering slowly, and we cannot fix the things instead of them. We can empower teachers, we can do a lot of there, but this is serious work that needs coordination and collaboration among different stakeholders, and we cannot be the only one. The NGOs cannot amnesty the system, and at this point we are doing right that. What is the most important for us to state is that we are going back on issues that occurred before pandemic. this pandemic only reveals all the problems in education, and this is something that we don't want to deal. I don't know how to explain this. We don't want to deal with it because there is nothing there to deal. The system is broken, the educational system is not working, and we have to go back on essential things in education, define them, and then move on. We will still support ministries of education, even though we don't have serious feedback from them. We will continue to support schools, school management, and teachers. We will monitor all of our recommendations, even though we know that they are not obligatory for anyone, and we will, as we are doing it for almost 30 years, go beyond the possible with a community of innovative teachers. And this is our obligation, this is our mission, this is our vision, that we want to make education great again. Thank you.
Yes, that's a great slogan. Thank you.
Hopefully you won't mind.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Nedim. You did point out a very important thing about how pandemic relieved the weaknesses of education systems. About the thing that education systems don't collect enough data about the children in the education system, so that we cannot address actually their needs in time of emergency. And it's a question if we can address their needs in time of that are not emergency. All the activities that step by step did during the pandemic really truly inspired all of us. And step by step, Macedonia also translated part of and used part of your activities as part of their emergency fund, as we mentioned in our first webinar. Before to go to the last comments, let's come back to Albania.
Please, if you allow me, Raffaella, I was talking about how it was important for us to react in the moment, but also, and I think Rozeta will agree, NEPC did the same, and that is the thing when communities matter. Communities matter in that time when we know that we can count on someone, and the NEPC was among rare donors or supporters who said, how can we help you at this moment? And that was really important, and that is the answer actually of why community matters. It matters when you ask me, how can I help you at this moment? It is good when it's everything okay, but when it's the crisis and so on, then community matters. And thank you, NEPC, for that opportunity.
Thank you, Nedim, for sharing this. Of course, those are time in which everybody is learning, and yes, community has that power to react in time of need. So let's come back now to Albania to see some kind of summary of activities that Albania did during the situational analysis, and how do you see the future? So what you will bring from this pandemic in the future, Rozeta?
Well, thank you, Raffaella. Thank you, Nedim. It was really wonderful to hear about the tremendous work that you've done. Well, as I said before, we felt the need for support, and it was not just talking to teachers or school leaders, but also to parents. It was just a year ago when we established Parents Network, who've got members from parent councils in each school. So we could realize that they really had roots, direct links with parents, but also schools. So they could realize and understand what the challenges were, what the worries of each and every one were. So besides the context analysis, we organized, let me see, here I've got the objectives to help school leaders, teachers, students, and parents, and other stakeholders overcome challenges, some of which I mentioned before, related to COVID situation, strengthen communication and cooperation. Communication between members of the same group, but also between different groups. Improve the teaching and learning process, support planning for the next academic year, which is a very important step for improving the work during this new academic year, and also provide policy recommendations. Of course, recommendations for all stakeholders at school, community, district, and also national level. So we started with open discussions we became part of WhatsApp groups in each school, so that we could understand what they felt, what the challenges were, and what they really needed at that moment of time. Then we had better organized workshops and meetings through Skype, Zoom, and other platforms, which helped parents, teachers, but also school leaders and other stakeholders improve their ICT skills, like using these platforms for getting connected to each other and providing support. Awareness raising, there were parents, there were students who didn't get the needed information at that moment, so there were platforms through which, also using the Facebook pages of each school and websites of each school, to share information and also provide some kind of orientation. This related to COVID, but also to the teaching and learning process, and also the need for communicating and cooperating with each other, like all stakeholders together. Online workshops, I mentioned it a little bit before, but these were very special because we started with workshops with the parents network, including also other parents from parent councils of each school, but then also other parents who became interested in it. On the other hand, we had workshops, specific workshops with school leaders and teachers. Then we had exchange workshops. I call it workshops. Sometimes they were like training meetings and workshops, where all of them could share challenges, worries, and even positive practices together. The joint workshop with all these stakeholders together was highly valued and appreciated by them, because it seemed like it was the only means of putting them all together and feeling that there was some kind of solidarity, understanding, and support for each other. So the workshops were based on effective communication techniques. There are effective communication techniques with children, and especially in this period of crisis, because I didn't mention it when I talked about the findings of the research or contextual analysis, but we found out that the communication between teachers, parents, and students was mostly about academic issues, not about how children felt about their psychosocial well-being and so on. So these kind of workshops help them feel that, yes, it's not just academic achievement or results, but it's also about the overall growth of the child and also the well-being. And cooperation, like finding different ways of communicating and cooperating with each other, effective use of technology. So we supported parents, because while supporting the parents network, we had indirectly supported lots of other parents who were kind of members of that network. And also while supporting the parents council in one school, we had the chance to provide support to other parents who they represented. Essential elements of teaching strategies or essential elements of interactive teaching methods through online platforms. This was mostly focused on the meetings and workshops with teachers and school leaders, which were really appreciated by them, since they didn't have specific trainings or workshops by other education authorities on these specific issues. So online peer learning and exchange workshops. So this was the moment when all the stakeholders got together, and they also increased the number of members of each group into these workshops or meetings. Some of them did not have the chance to participate in workshops, but they organized their own meetings with their own groups and came back to the workshops and meetings with their own ideas and suggestions or recommendations. So this was some kind of a peer learning extended to other levels. So we had parent network, parent council, teachers, students, school leaders, other parents, probably not part of them, but of course part of the school community. We had education, we had representatives from the education or district education office, which was something really good, because when school leaders and teachers had their opinion in the workshop, but also had them hear about their challenges and concerns, it became some kind of array of hope for support that was provided based on their needs and concerns. Then it was the moment of setting priorities. So they had to think about the school development program revision and the annual action plan from that moment, realizing the challenges that they faced. How would the next academic year be? Like, would they be isolated again, or would they go back to school? What needed to be done? This was really wonderful because school leaders and teachers came up with their own ideas of using Google Forms so that they could get opinions, suggestions, and recommendations from parents and other teachers and students on what was the priority, what would be the priority for this academic year, and how they would go together for resolving or providing a resolution to it. So this was some kind of action planning development through participatory methods. So they made it possible to involve all the stakeholders into the development of the action plan for this academic year, and they feel proud of it. We do feel very well about it because this is what we've been trying to do with schools for a number of years. So how can they develop their school development programs through active and meaningful participation of all the stakeholders and the most important community members? And then policy recommendations. So we have provided our own recommendations, which have been shared with at least the local government, education authorities at community and district level. We've shared it through our Facebook and also school Facebook and websites. So it was mostly about feeling a community, feeling the solidarity with each other. Well, I forgot to mention that the Parents Network, when it was that period of time of total isolation, they came out with an initiative on supporting the most in need families of the schools that they represented. So that was really wonderful. They got support from parents and community members, business, and so on. Of course, it was the local government that provided some kind of support, but actually it was not exactly what was given to these families, but the message that was conveyed to them. You're not alone. We're here, we're together, we will face the challenges together, and we will be successful. So these were some of the main points that I would like to share. Oh, okay, about learning, because we have it together. Sorry, because I have the findings here. Lessons learned for future action. Of course, we strengthened our belief that school cannot achieve its mission and vision without the active and meaningful involvement of students' families and the community around them. Inclusive policies, clear policies are needed at national, regional, and school level, especially for supporting the group of students in need, the most vulnerable ones, that we saw that were left behind or did not have the chance to participate in the teaching and learning process. Increased role and capacity of school leaders is really necessary, is vital to building successful and supportive learning communities, where the teacher feels welcome and appreciated and valued for what they do, for their commitment and hard work, where parents feel appreciated and feel respected about their offer, about their support, and also students feel welcome, supported, and valued. So all of them work together to help each and every child succeed and realize their full potential. The need for integration of online teaching. So this was stated during the context analysis, but also during our work and workshops with parents, students, and teachers. So there is a high need for integrating online teaching into the classroom teaching. So even though we might not have this kind of crisis, it's really good to have this kind of integration. The need for combining need-based training. So we can say teachers need training, school leaders need training. Of course, there are cases when they need to be introduced to new interactive teaching methods or cooperation methods. But what they really need is continuous mentoring and support, provided on their needs. Working with all stakeholders toward building the strong and more inclusive school communities is something that we as CAF will keep doing, because we do know that we have to work together. The school needs us so that they can succeed. They can achieve their mission and vision, which, if developed through that participatory method, of course, can be successfully achieved. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you to you, Rozeta. It really seems that you both worked at multi-level, with multi-level activities, with educational staff, with learners, with educational institutions. So thank you both very much for your tremendous work. If we have any questions from the audience, you can put in the chat. You have the icon in the right corner on the top. We have already one question. I mean, we have some compliments for you and for your work. And we have already one question regarding the system. So it's obvious from your presentations and from your work that the system is not aligned with professional communities, and it's somehow slow. So what could be done at systemic level to be better prepared next time? This is the question. And it's, I don't know if Nedim or Rozeta, do you have any preference who would start first?
Nedim? Nedim already
question, yeah.
Talk about that, I think.
Complete revolution. I don't know what to say. I don't know who is attending this webinar and where you're from, but here in Bosnia, it's not that easy. Finally we found out, and there is now a discourse about it, and I liked it because we helped to impose that discourse in society, and it is that finally systems do not work. There is no one thing that we need to fix. There is so many things that needs to be fixed, that in order to reach that, we need complete revolution in education. We decided in Community of Innovative Teachers that we will use this momentum when teachers are tired, disappointed, exhausted, to use this momentum to advocate and lobby and whatever it needs to be done in order to ask for major changes in education. The last PISA in 2018 showed us that we are not on the right track. We are even out of that track. We are on the wrong way completely. And I think this is the perfect momentum for us to gather together, strengthen each other, empower each other, and strongly and heavily advocate for major changes in education.
Yeah, sounds radical. Yeah. Rozeta, do you want to add something to this revolution energy?
Yeah, but children of Bosnia and Herzegovina do not have a privilege to continue the education in this system. So whatever we need to take, the action, I'm totally fine, because we are doing this, what Rozeta said about that one child. So whatever it needs to be done, we will do.
Yeah, but we are in times that require radical changes in every system, not only in education. So yes. Rozeta, do you want to add something?
I do agree with Nedim. Of course, it's needed revolution or restructuring or whatever. What's really important is that schools need more autonomy and, of course, more support, because schools could, well, we saw that most of them came out with their own solutions. So if they are given more autonomy and if they're given much more support, of course, they will build their own support systems together with the community around them. So, of course, empowering schools, empowering teachers, empowering school leaders and parents representation structures. Of course, clear policies at national level, inclusive policies that are developed through active and meaningful participation of all stakeholders who are affected by that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rozeta. We have another question from Virgil. Virgil is a representative of our Romanian member. It says it's a quick question, but it's also very demanding. So what was the response of the Ministry of Education regarding your work? Did you get any feedback from their side?
Well, I would say not from Ministry of Education, but from the education offices in the districts where we work with, because they know much better what we do. And we've tried to involve them in our activities, and it's something good. But regarding the Ministry of Education, no.
I think I answered that in the first phase. I know that they got all of our materials, suggestions, letters, whatever we send to them. I know that they get it, but they just don't react, and that is the privilege of the system, that they can do that, not react.
Okay, thank you both. We have another questions from Mario. Mario is from Forum for Freedom in Education, another of these inspiring organization when it comes to support to education systems. Not a small number of teachers in Croatian we were in connected said to us that the online teaching is pretty exhausting, especially in this challenging time. However, good part of them reported that students who were underperforming in live classrooms showed pretty engaged and active. So this is my near to 40 problem with eyes. Have you noticed the same phenomenon in your talks with teachers? If yes, what do you think about that? Is there possibility to utilize this notion in the future?
Maybe I can start this time. Thank you, Mario, for asking this question. And this webinar was not the opportunity to go into details of our research, but yes, we found out the same, and that is terrific thing. And I think, as I repeated several times, that I don't want to romanticize the some good findings that we have in our research, but we have really good findings, and that is that many children showed, and especially those children who were not successful in traditional schools, showed incredible looking for the word, they reacted very well on the methodology of online school, and their results were much better. And we also found out that some kids are just enjoying, have a freedom in arranging their own time, what they're gonna do something, and they're much more productive when it comes to that. And also some teachers found out that some topics, some themes, some projects, and especially joint projects, could be easily done over using the technology and using the technology tools. And that is something that we extract from the research and send as a good practice to some ministries when planning another round of typical school. Corona will end at certain point. They have to utilize, as Mario stated in the question, those findings to try to use them in the future as a good common ground for especially those children who are not so successful in traditional schools. So yes, and we did it, and we extracted and sent it as an important recommendation. And thank you once more for this question.
Rozeta, do you want to add something?
The same. Thank you, Nedim. Thank you, Mario, for the question. Yes, we did realize this, and this was also emphasized during our direct contact with teachers and parents. So they realized that there were a number of students who did not perform when they were during the school teaching, but they were much, much better during the online teaching. So this is why I emphasize at the end that it's really good to integrate online teaching into the classroom one. I mean, online not being isolated in school, but using this type of teaching.
Yeah. Thank you, Rozeta. In a talk with our Estonian colleagues, they actually found out also that they have new different vulnerable groups. For example, in Estonia, they found out that the students, learners that used to be perfectionists in the on-site school are among vulnerable groups now, in the sense that they are not performing that well. So yes, it's a completely switch of who are the vulnerable groups actually. Yeah. So thank you everybody. Do we have any more comments to share? Last ones or okay. Thank you for participation, for your comments and for your questions. So thank you both of you for your work and for being with us today. Keep on the good work and keep on inspiring us. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.